The Nevada sun blazed mercilessly across the tarmac at Nellis Air Force Base as Captain Sarah Chun guided her F-16C Fighting Falcon toward the designated parking spot. The aircraft's weathered gray paint told stories of decades in service, its panels bearing the honest scars of countless missions and training exercises. Chun cut the engines and began her post-flight checklist with practiced efficiency. Major Blake Garrison watched from the squadron building's observation deck, his expression souring as he took in the sight of Chen's vintage fighter. The aircraft looked like a museum piece compared to the sleek, modern F-16S gleaming nearby. Garrison descended the stairs with purposeful strides, his polished boots clicking against the concrete as he approached Chen's aircraft. By the time Chen had climbed down from the cockpit, a small crowd of pilots had gathered. Their flight suits bore the patches of various squadrons, all here for the elite red flag exercises that would test their skills against the best pilots in the world. Garrison positioned himself directly in front of Chen's aircraft, his hands planted firmly on his hips. "Welcome to Red Flag, Captain," Garrison announced loud enough for everyone to hear. His eyes swept dismissively over the aging F-16. "I see they're letting museum pieces participate now." He gestured broadly at the aircraft with theatrical disdain. "Tell me, does that scrap metal still have functioning avionics, or are you navigating by compass and prayer?" The assembled pilots chuckled appreciatively. Captain Lisa Morrison stepped forward, her own confidence evident in every movement. She circled Chen's aircraft slowly, examining it like a predator sizing up wounded prey. "The paint job alone tells you everything you need to know," Morrison declared. "This thing belongs in a boneyard, not a combat exercise." Chun stood quietly beside her aircraft, her helmet tucked under one arm. Her dark eyes remained calm as the criticism washed over her. She had heard it all before, and she knew something these pilots did not. The modifications hidden beneath the worn exterior represented technology they could not begin to comprehend. "Captain Chun, I assume," Garrison said, consulting his clipboard with exaggerated formality. "You'll be flying observer status for these exercises. Photography runs, basic navigation. Nothing that might stress your antique beyond its capabilities." He made a show of checking boxes on his paperwork. "We wouldn't want anything falling off that relic mid-flight." The crowd's laughter grew bolder. Lieutenant Marcus Webb hung back from the group, his young face showing discomfort with the treatment Chun was receiving. He had heard stories about exceptional pilots being underestimated, and something about Chen's composed reaction suggested there was more to this situation than appeared. Chen's expression never changed as she accepted the assignment paperwork from Garrison. Her mind traveled briefly to the years she had spent restoring this particular aircraft, the countless hours spent integrating systems that represented the cutting edge of aerospace technology. The worn exterior was deliberate camouflage, hiding capabilities that would revolutionize air combat if fully understood. "I understand my assignment, Major," Chun replied evenly. Her voice carried no trace of anger or frustration, only professional acknowledgement. "The observer missions will provide valuable perspective on the exercises." Garrison seemed almost disappointed by her lack of reaction. He had expected protests, demands for equal treatment, some display of wounded pride. Instead, Chen's calm acceptance made him feel as though he were missing something important. He pushed the feeling aside and focused on maintaining his authority over the situation. "Your aircraft will be inspected by our maintenance team," Garrison informed her. "Given its age, we need to ensure it meets minimum safety standards. Can't have vintage hardware creating hazards for the real fighters." Chen nodded once, then turned her attention to the methodical process of securing her aircraft. Her movements were precise and economical, each action serving a specific purpose. The other pilots gradually dispersed, their entertainment concluded, but Webb lingered nearby. He watched Chun work with growing curiosity, noting the care and expertise she displayed in handling her equipment. As the crowd thinned, Chun allowed herself a small smile. These pilots had no idea what they had just dismissed as scrap metal. The upcoming exercises would provide the perfect opportunity to demonstrate exactly how wrong their assumptions were. She had waited months for this chance, and their prejudice had just handed her the element of surprise she needed. The afternoon heat shimmered off the tarmac as Chun completed her post-flight procedures. Tomorrow would bring the first official briefing, where she would learn the full extent of their underestimation. For now, she was content to let them believe what they chose to believe. The truth would reveal itself soon enough, and when it did, every pilot on this base would understand that appearances could be devastatingly deceiving. The squadron briefing room buzzed with anticipation as pilots filed in for the first official red flag planning session. Charts covered the walls showing designated airspace sectors, target areas, and complex flight patterns that would challenge even experienced aviators. Major Garrison stood at the front, his laser pointer ready to dissect the upcoming exercises with military precision. Chin entered quietly and took a seat in the back row. Her flight suit bore the standard patches, giving no indication of her true credentials or the classified nature of her mission at Nellis. She opened her notebook and prepared to document everything these pilots revealed about their capabilities and tactical approaches. "Gentlemen and lady," Garrison began, nodding toward the assembled group. "Red flag represents the pinnacle of air combat training. Each of you earned your place here through exceptional performance." He paused deliberately, his eyes finding Chun in the back. "Most of you, anyway." The room's energy shifted as pilots turned to follow Garrison's gaze. Morrison smirked from a front row seat, clearly enjoying the continuation of yesterday's entertainment. Webb shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his instincts telling him something was fundamentally wrong with this treatment. "Captain Chun will be conducting photography missions during our exercises," Garrison announced while projecting the flight assignments onto the main screen. "Her vintage aircraft will document our maneuvers from a safe distance. Think of it as aerial journalism rather than combat training." The assignments appeared in order of complexity and prestige. Chen's name sat at the very bottom, separated from the others by a thick black line that might as well have been a barrier to a different world. While other pilots received advanced air-to-air combat scenarios and ground attack missions, Chen was relegated to basic observation duties. Lieutenant Webb studied the assignment board with growing unease. His own name appeared near the middle, reflecting his status as the squadron's newest member. But even his rookie missions involved actual combat scenarios, while Chun had been excluded entirely from meaningful participation. "Your call sign assignments are also posted," Garrison continued. "Morrison, you're Viper. Webb, you're Rookie." He paused dramatically before reaching Chen's entry. "Captain Chun, you'll be flying as Antique. Seemed appropriate given your aircraft's vintage." Laughter rippled through the briefing room. Several pilots exchanged knowing glances, their amusement evident in whispered comments about museum pieces and airshow relics. Chen made a note in her margin, her expression revealing nothing about her thoughts on the deliberate insult. After the official briefing concluded, pilots clustered around the assignment board to discuss tactical approaches. Webb approached Chun as she gathered her materials, his conscience overriding his concern about appearing disloyal to his squadron mates. "Captain," Webb said quietly, "this doesn't seem right. Your record shows significant flight experience. Why are they treating you like a liability?" Chun looked up from her notebook, studying Webb's earnest young face. She recognized the moral struggle playing out behind his eyes, the conflict between following group dynamics and standing up for what was right. "Politics, Lieutenant," she replied simply. "Sometimes the best strategy is letting people underestimate you." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Senior Master Sergeant Rodriguez, the squadron's lead maintenance chief. His weathered hands carried decades of experience working on every type of aircraft the Air Force flew. Rodriguez had been examining Chen's F-16 since dawn, and his expression suggested he had discovered something significant. "Captain Chun," Rodriguez said, his voice carefully neutral, "I need to discuss some irregularities with your aircraft. Your maintenance logs show modifications that aren't standard for F-16C models." Chen closed her notebook and stood, recognizing the opening she had been waiting for. "Sergeant Rodriguez, I'd be happy to discuss any questions about my aircraft's configuration. Perhaps we could review the technical specifications privately." Rodriguez nodded, understanding the implied request for discretion. Years of working with classified systems had taught him to recognize when standard procedures needed adjustment. As they prepared to leave, Webb made an impulsive decision that would change his role in the unfolding situation. "Captain, would it be appropriate for me to observe this discussion?" Webb asked. "I'm interested in learning about different aircraft configurations." Chun studied Webb for a moment, evaluating his potential as an ally. His genuine curiosity and obvious discomfort with the squadron's treatment of her suggested he might be trustworthy. "Very well, Lieutenant. Educational opportunities should never be wasted." As the three of them headed toward the maintenance hangar, other pilots began dispersing to their own preparations. Morrison lingered near the assignment board, her competitive instincts analyzing the upcoming exercises. She had noticed Webb's interaction with Chun and filed it away as potential intelligence about squadron dynamics. The maintenance hangar offered privacy and the technical environment necessary for Chun to begin revealing the truth about her mission. Rodriguez led them to his office, a cluttered space filled with technical manuals, diagnostic equipment, and the accumulated wisdom of 30 years maintaining military aircraft. "Your F-16 has some interesting features, Captain," Rodriguez began diplomatically. "The avionics package appears significantly more advanced than standard configurations. Some of these modifications look experimental." Chun recognized the moment when careful deception would give way to selective truth. Rodriguez's expertise made him too valuable as an ally to keep completely in the dark, and Webb's integrity suggested he could handle classified information responsibly. "Sergeant Rodriguez, what I'm about to share with you requires absolute discretion," Chun said. Her tone shifted from casual conversation to official briefing mode. "My presence here involves testing advanced systems integration under operational conditions." Rodriguez leaned forward, his professional interest fully engaged. Webb felt a surge of excitement as he realized his instincts about Chun had been correct. The squadron's treatment of her was not just inappropriate, but potentially dangerous to the very exercises they were conducting. "The aircraft you examined this morning represents 3 years of development work," Chun continued. "Every modification serves a specific purpose in evaluating next-generation fighter capabilities. The aged exterior is deliberate camouflage." As Chun began explaining the true nature of her mission, both Rodriguez and Webb understood they were being trusted with information that could change everything about the upcoming red flag exercises. The pilot they had watched being dismissed as incompetent was actually conducting the most advanced flight testing either of them had ever encountered. Dawn painted the Nevada sky in shades of amber and rose as the first red flag exercise commenced. The flight line erupted with controlled chaos as ground crews conducted final checks on gleaming fighters. Pilots moved through their pre-flight rituals with practiced precision, each aware that today's performance would establish their reputation for the remainder of the exercises. Chun arrived at her aircraft 30 minutes before the scheduled launch, finding Rodriguez already conducting his inspection. The sergeant's thoroughness had increased dramatically since their conversation the previous day. His newfound understanding of the aircraft's true nature made every system check a matter of national security rather than routine maintenance. "Your bird's ready for whatever you have planned, Captain," Rodriguez said quietly. "All systems show green across the board. The modifications are performing exactly as designed." Chun nodded her appreciation while beginning her own pre-flight inspection. Around them, other pilots were conducting similar preparations, but their aircraft lacked the carefully hidden sophistication of Chun's fighter. She moved methodically through each check, her actions appearing routine while actually verifying systems these pilots had never encountered. The squadron frequency crackled to life as Major Garrison began coordinating the morning's launch sequence. His voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to complete control over his airspace and pilots. Today's exercise would involve complex air-to-air engagements designed to test combat readiness under realistic conditions. Flight order is as briefed, Garrison announced. Viper and Shark will launch first for intercept scenarios. Rookie and Hammer follow for close air support. Antique will depart last for observation duties. Chin's aircraft sat at the end of the line, physically separated from the combat fighters by 50 yards of empty tarmac. The positioning was deliberate, reinforcing her status as an outsider conducting secondary missions while real pilots handled serious business. She used the delay to monitor radio traffic and analyze each pilot's communication patterns. 20 minutes passed before Chun received clearance for takeoff. By then, the other fighters had completed their launch procedures and were establishing positions for their combat scenarios. Their radio chatter revealed confidence bordering on arrogance as they discussed tactics and target assignments. Antique, you're cleared for takeoff, the tower controller announced. Your assigned altitude is 15,000 feet. Maintain visual separation from active combat aircraft. Chun acknowledged the clearance and began her takeoff roll. The aged F-16's engines spooled up with familiar authority, but she deliberately limited power to create the impression of mechanical limitations. Her aircraft accelerated sluggishly down the runway, reinforcing every assumption the watching pilots had made about its capabilities. Once airborne, Chun began what appeared to be a basic navigation exercise. Her flight path remained predictable and conservative, avoiding any maneuvers that might suggest advanced capabilities. The radio frequency filled with comments about her performance, none of them complimentary. Look at that Antique struggling to maintain altitude. Morrison's voice cut through the static. I've seen student pilots fly more aggressively than that. Garrison's response carried dismissive authority. Antique, maintain your assigned altitude and stay clear of the combat area. We don't need vintage hardware interfering with real air combat training. Webb monitored the communications from his position in the exercise area, growing increasingly uncomfortable with the public humiliation Chun was enduring. His tactical training told him something was wrong with the picture being presented, but he lacked the experience to identify exactly what was bothering him. Chun completed several basic maneuvers, each one performed with deliberate mediocrity. Her aircraft appeared to labor through simple turns and climbs, confirming every negative assumption about its airworthiness. She was conducting a masterclass in deception, using the squadron's prejudice against them while gathering detailed intelligence on their capabilities. The exercise continued for 90 minutes, during which Chun documented every aspect of her fellow pilots' performance. Their radio discipline was poor, their tactical formations predictable, and their situational awareness limited by overconfidence. Each weakness, she observed, would prove valuable when the time came to demonstrate her true capabilities. As the flight concluded, Garrison directed all aircraft to return to base in the same order they had launched. Chun found herself trailing the formation by several miles, her apparent inability to maintain formation speed providing additional ammunition for her critics. The post-flight debrief took place in the squadron's main briefing room, with pilots arranged according to their performance rankings. Chin sat in the back corner, while Garrison reviewed the morning's successes and failures. His assessment of her contribution was both brief and damning. Antique managed to complete basic navigation without incident, Garrison announced to scattered chuckles. Her performance confirms our assessment that observation duties represent the appropriate level of responsibility for vintage equipment. Webb found himself studying Chin's reaction to the public criticism. Her expression remained professionally neutral, but he detected something in her eyes that suggested profound satisfaction rather than embarrassment. The disconnect between her apparent failure and hidden contentment convinced him that appearances were completely deceiving. After the official debrief concluded, Webb approached Chun as other pilots filed out, discussing their next training sessions. His curiosity had evolved into genuine concern about the squadron's treatment of what might be an exceptional pilot being deliberately misunderstood. "Captain, that flight didn't match what I expected based on our conversation yesterday," Webb said quietly. Are you deliberately underperforming for some reason? Chun gathered her flight materials while considering how much truth to reveal. Webb's moral courage and growing suspicion made him a potential ally, but trust required careful cultivation in an environment where her mission depended on maintaining operational security. Lieutenant, appearances can be carefully constructed, Chun replied. Sometimes the best strategy involves letting opponents reveal their weaknesses while concealing your strengths. Today provided valuable intelligence about this squadron's capabilities and limitations. Webb felt pieces of a complex puzzle beginning to align in his mind. Chen's calm acceptance of humiliation, her sophisticated analysis of squadron performance, and Rodriguez's unusual interest in her aircraft all pointed towards something far more significant than a struggling pilot flying outdated equipment. Are you saying that everything we witnessed today was deliberate misdirection? Webb asked. Chun smiled for the first time since arriving at Nellis, and Webb saw steel beneath the carefully maintained facade of professional submission. Everything in military aviation is deliberate, Lieutenant. The question is whether you can distinguish between genuine capability and strategic deception. As they left the briefing room, Webb realized he was witnessing something unprecedented. The pilot his squadron was dismissing as incompetent was actually conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation he had ever encountered. Tomorrow's exercises would take on entirely new meaning once he understood the true nature of Chen's mission at Red Flag. The morning briefing carried an edge of anticipation as pilots prepared for advanced combat scenarios. Wall-mounted displays showed complex tactical situations requiring split-second decisions and precise coordination. These exercises would separate competent pilots from exceptional ones, pushing skills to their operational limits under realistic combat conditions. Major Garrison stood before the assembled squadron with obvious satisfaction. His authority had been reinforced by yesterday's successful demonstration of squadron hierarchy, and today would provide additional opportunities to showcase the gap between real fighters and pretenders occupying valuable training slots. Today's scenarios involve multi-threat environments, Garrison announced while highlighting target areas on the tactical display. Each pilot will face simultaneous air and ground threats requiring advanced tactical thinking. He paused deliberately, allowing tension to build. Most pilots, anyway. Chin sat in her customary back row position, notebook ready to document another day of intelligence gathering. Her calm expression revealed nothing about her thoughts as Garrison prepared to deliver what he clearly considered a devastating assignment designed to emphasize her secondary status. Captain Chun, your mission today involves aerial photography documentation. Garrison continued with theatrical formality. You'll maintain safe distance while recording our combat maneuvers for training analysis. Think of yourself as our personal war correspondent. Captain Morrison stood near the front, her confidence evident in every gesture. She turned toward Chun with predatory satisfaction, clearly relishing this continuation of the systematic humiliation that had begun with Chen's arrival at Nellis. Make sure you get my good side, Morrison called out to scattered laughter. Though from your vintage aircraft's distance, you might need a telescope to capture anything useful. The assembled pilots appreciated Morrison's wit, their amusement reinforcing the social dynamics that kept Chun isolated from their professional community. Webb watched the interaction with growing discomfort, his instincts telling him they were making a catastrophic mistake in their assessment of Chen's capabilities. Your aircraft will carry standard photography equipment, Garrison informed Chun while distributing mission packets. Stay at least 5 miles from active combat areas. We can't risk vintage hardware creating complications for pilots conducting real training. Chun accepted her assignment materials without protest, her professional demeanor unchanged by the continued insults. She understood that each degrading mission provided additional opportunities to study her fellow pilots' techniques and tactical approaches while they remained completely unaware of her surveillance. The flight line preparation revealed the stark difference between Chen's isolated position and the collaborative energy surrounding the combat pilots. Maintenance crews lavished attention on the frontline fighters while treating Chen's aircraft as an afterthought requiring minimal support for its simple photography mission. Rodriguez approached Chen's aircraft with his usual thoroughness, but his inspection now carried deeper significance. His understanding of the hidden modifications made every system check a verification of cutting-edge military technology disguised as routine maintenance procedures. "Your special systems are fully operational, Captain," Rodriguez said quietly while ostensibly checking standard components. "The recording equipment will capture everything you need for analysis." Chen nodded her appreciation while conducting her own pre-flight inspection. The photography equipment mounted in her aircraft was indeed functional, but it represented only a fraction of the surveillance and analysis systems hidden throughout the modified fighter. Her mission would gather intelligence far beyond simple visual documentation. Launch sequence placed Chun last once again, forcing her to watch as combat pilots departed with obvious excitement for their challenging scenarios. Their radio chatter revealed eager anticipation for complex engagements that would test their skills against sophisticated opposition forces. 25 minutes elapsed before Chun received takeoff clearance. The delay was longer than previous missions, emphasizing her peripheral role while ensuring the combat aircraft had established their positions before the photography platform entered the area. "Antique, you're cleared for photo reconnaissance," the tower controller announced. "Maintain assigned altitude and distance parameters. Do not approach active combat zones under any circumstances." Chun acknowledged the restrictions while beginning her takeoff roll. Her aircraft's performance remained deliberately modest, reinforcing the illusion of mechanical limitations that kept her opponents comfortable with their assumptions about her capabilities and intentions. Once established in her observation position, Chun began what appeared to be routine photography work. Her aircraft moved in predictable patterns while maintaining the required distance from combat areas, creating the impression of a pilot struggling to keep outdated equipment operational. The radio frequency filled with combat communications as pilots engaged their training scenarios. Chun listened carefully to their tactical decisions, communication protocols, and stress responses while her hidden systems recorded detailed performance data on each aircraft's capabilities and limitations. Morrison's voice dominated the radio traffic as she coordinated with her wingman during a complex air-to-air engagement. Her tactical skills were evident, but Chun noted specific weaknesses in her situational awareness and tendency toward aggressive maneuvers that sacrificed defensive positioning. "Look at Antique hanging back there like a spectator," Morrison transmitted during a brief lull in her engagement. "I bet she's never seen real air combat before today." The comment drew laughter from other pilots, their attention momentarily diverted from their training scenarios. Chun used their distraction to reposition her aircraft for better surveillance angles while appearing to conduct standard photography patterns. Webb monitored the exercise from his own combat position, growing increasingly suspicious of Chen's flight behavior. Her movements appeared random to casual observation, but careful analysis revealed systematic coverage of the entire training area from multiple angles and altitudes. During a particularly intense engagement sequence, Chen's aircraft executed a subtle maneuver that brought her closer to the combat area than regulations allowed. The movement lasted only seconds before she returned to her designated position, but Webb caught the violation on his radar display. The maneuver revealed capabilities inconsistent with the struggling performance Chun had displayed in previous missions. Her aircraft had demonstrated speed and agility that exceeded published specifications for vintage F-16 models, suggesting modifications far beyond standard maintenance upgrades. As the exercise concluded, pilots began returning to base with obvious satisfaction at their performance. Their radio communications revealed confidence in their tactical abilities and dismissive amusement at Chen's peripheral role in their training activities. Chun completed her photography mission with apparent routine success, her aircraft trailing the formation as expected while maintaining the illusion of mechanical limitations. Her hidden systems had recorded comprehensive data on every pilot's performance, providing intelligence that would prove devastating when properly applied. The post-mission debrief followed established patterns, with Garrison praising the combat pilot's performance while relegating Chen's contribution to a brief acknowledgement of successful photography completion. Her apparent satisfaction with such minimal recognition puzzled Webb, who was beginning to understand that nothing about Chun was as simple as it appeared. After the official briefing, Webb approached Chun with direct questions that reflected his growing certainty that she was conducting some form of classified intelligence operation disguised as routine training support. "Captain, your flight patterns today covered more area than necessary for simple photography," Webb observed. "Are you gathering intelligence on our squadron's capabilities for some specific purpose?" Chin studied Webb's earnest expression, recognizing the moment when careful revelation might secure a valuable ally. His moral courage and tactical intelligence made him potentially trustworthy, but her mission required absolute discretion until the proper moment for demonstration arrived. "Lieutenant, good reconnaissance involves comprehensive coverage," Chen replied carefully. "Sometimes the most valuable intelligence comes from observing what people do when they believe no one important is watching their performance." Senior Master Sergeant Rodriguez arrived at the maintenance hangar before dawn, his curiosity about Chen's aircraft driving him to conduct a more thorough inspection than standard protocols required. 3 days of routine checks had revealed inconsistencies that demanded deeper investigation, and his 30 years of experience told him he was examining something extraordinary. The hangar's fluorescent lights hummed to life as Rodriguez approached Chen's F-16 with diagnostic equipment and technical manuals. What appeared to be a standard vintage fighter actually contained modifications that challenged everything he understood about aircraft capabilities and military procurement procedures. Rodriguez began with the avionics bay, expecting to find outdated systems requiring constant maintenance. Instead, he discovered sophisticated electronics that exceeded the specifications of the newest F-16 variants. The radar system alone represented technology he had never encountered in operational aircraft. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Webb sat in his quarters reviewing flight data from recent exercises. His background in aerospace engineering provided perspective that most pilots lacked, and Chen's flight characteristics defied logical explanation based on her aircraft's apparent age and condition. Webb's analysis revealed performance anomalies that suggested either miraculous maintenance or fundamental modifications to the aircraft systems. Chen's supposedly struggling fighter had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded published specifications during moments when she believed no one was monitoring her closely. Rodriguez discovered the engine modifications during his detailed inspection of the propulsion systems. The turbofan showed evidence of upgrades that would dramatically improve thrust-to-weight ratios while maintaining the external appearance of standard equipment. These changes required engineering expertise and resources far beyond typical squadron maintenance capabilities. His growing amazement was interrupted by Chen's arrival for her pre-flight inspection. She approached the hangar with her usual calm professionalism, but Rodriguez detected subtle alertness in her posture that suggested awareness of his discoveries. "Captain, we need to discuss your aircraft's configuration," Rodriguez said without preamble. "These modifications represent technology I've never seen in operational service. Some of these systems appear to be experimental prototypes." Chun evaluated Rodriguez's expression, recognizing the moment when continued deception would become impossible. His expertise made him too valuable as an ally to keep completely uninformed, and his security clearance would allow limited disclosure of her mission parameters. "Sergeant Rodriguez, what you've discovered requires absolute discretion," Chen replied. "My assignment here involves testing advanced systems integration under realistic operational conditions. This aircraft serves as a testbed for next-generation fighter capabilities." Rodriguez felt pieces of a complex puzzle clicking into place in his mind. Chen's patient endurance of humiliation, her sophisticated analysis of squadron performance, and her aircraft's hidden capabilities all made sense within the context of a classified testing program. Webb entered the hangar as Chun was explaining the true nature of her mission to Rodriguez. His timing was perfect, as his growing suspicions had reached the point where direct confrontation was inevitable regardless of potential consequences to his career. "Captain Chun, I've been analyzing flight data from our recent exercises," Webb announced. "Your aircraft's performance characteristics don't match its apparent specifications. Are you conducting some form of classified evaluation program?" Chin studied both men carefully, weighing the risks and benefits of expanding her circle of trusted allies. Rodriguez's technical expertise and Webb's tactical intelligence made them potentially valuable supporters, but operational security remained paramount until the proper moment for revelation. "What I'm about to share with you requires your complete discretion," Chin said. Her tone shifted to official briefing mode. "This aircraft contains 3 years of development work integrating advanced systems into existing airframe designs. Every modification serves specific testing objectives." Rodriguez leaned forward with professional fascination. The scope of the modifications suggested a program with massive funding and strategic importance. His experience with classified projects told him he was being trusted with information that could influence future military aviation development. "The radar system you examined represents next-generation target acquisition technology," Chun continued. "The engine modifications provide enhanced performance while maintaining acoustic signatures that prevent detection. The avionics integration allows real-time analysis of combat scenarios that current systems cannot match." Webb's excitement grew as he understood the implications of Chin's revelation. The pilot his squadron had dismissed as incompetent was actually conducting the most advanced flight testing program either of them had encountered. Her apparent failures were actually sophisticated intelligence gathering operations. "How long have you been testing these systems?" Rodriguez asked. 18 months of development, 6 months of ground testing, 3 months of limited flight testing before arriving here," Chin replied. Red Flag provides the perfect environment for evaluating system performance under realistic combat conditions while maintaining operational security. Webb realized that every exercise had provided Chun with opportunities to analyze squadron capabilities, while her opponents remained completely unaware of the surveillance they were experiencing. Her hidden systems had recorded comprehensive data on tactics, performance limitations, and individual pilot characteristics. "Does your mission include specific objectives regarding our squadron's performance?" Webb inquired. Chin smiled slightly, recognizing Webb's tactical thinking. "My mission involved evaluating how advanced systems perform against conventional fighters flown by competent pilots. Your squadron's dismissive attitude provides perfect cover for comprehensive testing without arousing suspicion." Rodriguez understood the elegant deception Chun had constructed. By accepting humiliation and maintaining the appearance of incompetence, she had created ideal conditions for testing revolutionary technology against unsuspecting opponents who revealed their limitations through overconfidence. The implications were staggering. Chin's apparently obsolete fighter actually represented the future of military aviation, disguised as a museum piece to prevent interference with critical testing objectives. Her patient endurance of insults had served specific intelligence-gathering purposes that would influence aircraft development for decades. "Captain, how much longer will your testing continue?" Rodriguez asked. "The evaluation phase concludes when I've gathered sufficient data on conventional fighter capabilities," Chin replied. "That timeline depends partly on whether circumstances require demonstration of these systems' true potential." Webb sensed underlying meaning in Chin's carefully chosen words. Her mission parameters apparently included options for revealing her aircraft's capabilities under specific conditions, possibly including situations where continued deception became counterproductive or dangerous. "Are you suggesting that circumstances might require you to abandon your cover identity?" Webb asked. Chin's expression grew serious as she considered the question. "Military aviation involves calculated risks, Lieutenant. Sometimes operational requirements override security considerations. If the situation demands it, these systems will demonstrate their full capabilities regardless of exposure consequences. Rodriguez and Webb exchanged glances, both understanding they had been trusted with information that could change everything about the remaining red flag exercises. The pilot they had watched being systematically humiliated possessed capabilities that could revolutionize their understanding of air combat. As Chun prepared to leave for the morning briefing, Rodriguez made a decision that would align him completely with her mission objectives. "Captain, you have my complete support for whatever your testing requires. This technology represents the future of military aviation." Webb nodded his agreement, his moral courage finally finding appropriate focus. The squadron's treatment of Chun was not just unprofessional, but potentially dangerous to the very exercises they were conducting. His loyalty belonged to the mission rather than social dynamics that served no constructive purpose. Chun appreciated their commitment, understanding that successful completion of her objectives would require reliable allies who understood the stakes involved. Rodriguez's technical expertise and Webb's tactical intelligence would prove invaluable when circumstances finally demanded revelation of her true capabilities. The squadron gathered in the main briefing room for what Major Garrison had announced as a special presentation on training standards and pilot performance expectations. The formal setting suggested something more significant than routine exercise planning, and the assembled pilots sensed an opportunity for entertainment at someone's expense. Garrison stood at the podium with obvious satisfaction, his authority reinforced by 5 days of successful exercises that had demonstrated clear hierarchy within the squadron. Behind him, performance charts showed flight statistics that painted a stark picture of capability differences among the assembled pilots. "We've completed our initial training phase, and the results speak for themselves," Garrison announced while gesturing toward the display data. "Most of you have demonstrated the skills that earned your places in these elite exercises." Chun sat in her customary position at the back of the room, her notebook documenting not just official information, but subtle behavioral patterns she had observed in each pilot during their brief interactions. Her intelligence gathering had revealed weaknesses in tactical thinking and situational awareness that could prove decisive under proper circumstances. However, Garrison continued, his tone shifting toward theatrical disappointment, "We have one participant who seems to be struggling with the basic requirements of modern air combat. Captain Chin's performance has been consistently substandard across all measured categories." Morrison turned in her seat to study Chin's reaction, clearly anticipating visible signs of embarrassment or frustration. Instead, she found only professional composure that seemed almost unnaturally calm given the public criticism being delivered with surgical precision. "The photography missions have been adequate," Garrison admitted grudgingly, "but photography doesn't require the skills we're here to develop. Real air combat demands capabilities that some pilots simply lack." Webb watched the systematic humiliation with growing anger, his understanding of Chin's true mission making Garrison's comments not just wrong, but potentially dangerous to ongoing classified operations. His loyalty to proper military conduct warred with his desire to expose the squadron's catastrophic misjudgment. Morrison stood abruptly, her competitive instincts sensing an opportunity to demonstrate superiority while solidifying her position as the squadron's premier pilot. Her confidence had grown throughout the exercises as her performance consistently exceeded standard expectations. "Major Garrison," Morrison said with theatrical concern, "perhaps Captain Chun would benefit from practical demonstration of advanced air combat techniques. I'd be willing to provide unknown instruction that might help her understand what she's missing." The suggestion drew knowing smiles from other pilots who recognized Morrison's offer as a thinly disguised challenge designed to provide spectacular entertainment while delivering a lesson in capability differences that would end any pretense of Chun belonging among elite fighters. Garrison considered the proposal with obvious approval. His assessment of Chin's limitations made the outcome predictable, and public demonstration would reinforce training standards while providing valuable instruction to the entire squadron about performance expectations. An excellent suggestion, Captain Morrison, Garrison replied. Practical demonstration often succeeds where theoretical instruction fails. He turned toward Chun with predatory anticipation. Captain Chun, would you accept individual instruction from Captain Morrison in air-to-air combat techniques? Chun closed her notebook slowly, her mind calculating the risks and benefits of accepting what was clearly intended as public humiliation. The challenge represented the perfect opportunity to demonstrate her aircraft's capabilities, but revelation would end her intelligence-gathering mission and expose classified technology. I appreciate Captain Morrison's offer, Chun replied calmly. However, if we're conducting instructional exercises, perhaps the demonstration should involve multiple opponents to provide more comprehensive training value. Morrison's eyes brightened with predatory excitement. The suggestion of multiple opponents played directly into her overconfidence while providing additional opportunities to showcase her superiority over supposedly inferior competition. An outstanding idea, Morrison declared. Major Garrison, I volunteered to lead a formation that could provide Captain Chun with realistic combat experience. 2 against 1 would simulate actual threat scenarios she might encounter. Garrison evaluated the proposal with growing enthusiasm. The exercise would demonstrate beyond question the performance gap between elite pilots and pretenders while providing spectacular entertainment that would become squadron legend for years to come. Captain Morrison, I'll join you in this instructional exercise, Garrison announced. 2 experienced pilots versus 1 struggling trainee should provide adequate challenge without creating safety concerns. Webb felt his stomach tighten as he realized the implications of what was being arranged. Chun would face 2 accomplished pilots in aircraft she had supposedly been unable to handle effectively during basic exercises. The outcome appeared predetermined unless she revealed capabilities that would compromise her classified mission. The challenge parameters took shape quickly as Garrison's enthusiasm overcame his usual methodical planning. The exercise would involve simulated air-to-air combat in designated training airspace, with safety observers monitoring from ground control and predetermined engagement rules, ensuring realistic scenarios without actual danger. Chun listened to the details while calculating how much she could reveal without completely exposing her mission parameters. The aircraft's capabilities exceeded anything these pilots had encountered, but demonstration would require careful calibration to achieve objectives without revealing all her technological advantages. Other pilots began placing informal wagers on the exercise outcome, their betting odds reflecting absolute certainty about Chen's impending defeat. The entertainment value of watching Morrison and Garrison systematically dismantle an overmatched opponent generated palpable excitement throughout the squadron. Captain Chun, do you accept these exercise parameters? Garrison asked formally. Chun stood slowly, her decision made despite the risks involved. The opportunity to test her systems against skilled opponents under realistic conditions was exactly what her mission required, and her patience with systematic humiliation had reached its operational limits. I accept the challenge, Major, Chun replied. When would you like to conduct this instructional exercise? Morrison's satisfaction was evident as she anticipated the most spectacular victory of her career. 2 elite pilots against 1 struggling amateur represented perfect odds for demonstrating the performance standards that separated professionals from pretenders occupying valuable training positions. Tomorrow morning, Morrison declared, we'll provide Captain Chun with comprehensive instruction in advanced air combat techniques. Garrison nodded his approval, while other pilots expressed eager anticipation for what promised to be the most entertaining exercise of the entire Red Flag series. None of them suspected they were about to witness a demonstration that would challenge everything they understood about aircraft capabilities and pilot assessment. As the briefing concluded, Webb approached Chun with barely contained anxiety about what he had witnessed being arranged. His understanding of her true capabilities made tomorrow's exercise potentially dangerous for everyone involved, including the pilots who believed they held overwhelming advantages. "Captain, are you certain about accepting this challenge?" Webb asked quietly. "The odds are deliberately stacked against you." Chin gathered her materials with calm deliberation, her decision final despite the risks to her mission security. "Sometimes, Lieutenant, circumstances require demonstration rather than continued deception. Tomorrow will provide valuable data for everyone involved." Rodriguez joined them as other pilots dispersed to discuss tomorrow's anticipated entertainment. His technical knowledge of Chin's aircraft modifications made him acutely aware that the exercise would not proceed according to anyone's expectations except possibly Chin's own. "Captain, your systems are ready for whatever tomorrow requires," Rodriguez said meaningfully. "All modifications are performing exactly as designed." Chin nodded her appreciation while mentally preparing for the most significant test of her mission capabilities since arriving at Nellis. Tomorrow would determine whether months of careful preparation and patient endurance would achieve their intended objectives or require complete mission parameter revision. The dawn air carried unusual tension as word of the morning's exhibition spread throughout Nellis Air Force Base. What had begun as squadron training had evolved into public spectacle, with personnel from multiple units gathering to witness what promised to be either spectacular demonstration or catastrophic humiliation. Major Garrison arrived at the flight line with theatrical confidence, his bearings suggesting someone preparing to deliver a decisive lesson in military aviation hierarchy. His pre-flight routine carried extra precision, as though each action was being performed for an audience that would remember this morning for years to come. Morrison approached her aircraft with predatory satisfaction, her movements sharp and purposeful as she conducted systems checks with unusual thoroughness. The opportunity to deliver public instruction to an overmatched opponent had energized her competitive instinct to levels that bordered on aggressive anticipation. The base public address system crackled to life as ground control announced the special exhibition exercise. The neutral tone of the announcement masked the entertainment value that had drawn spectators from across the installation to witness what everyone expected would be a one-sided demonstration of pilot capability differences. "This morning's training exercise will demonstrate advanced air combat techniques," the announcement declared. "All personnel are reminded to maintain safe viewing distances from active flight areas during the demonstration." Chin arrived at her aircraft 30 minutes before the scheduled launch time, finding Rodriguez already conducting his most thorough inspection since her arrival at Nellis. His understanding of the hidden modifications made every system check a verification of revolutionary technology preparing for its first public demonstration. "Your bird is ready for whatever you need to accomplish," Rodriguez said quietly while ostensibly checking standard components. "All systems show optimal performance across every parameter." Chun nodded her appreciation while beginning her own pre-flight inspection. Around them, the gathering crowd included pilots from other squadrons, maintenance personnel, and base staff who had heard rumors about the morning's unusual exercise arrangements. Webb positioned himself near the maintenance area, where he could observe both the pre-flight preparations and the crowd's growing anticipation. His knowledge of Chin's true capabilities made him acutely aware that everyone present was about to witness something completely unexpected. The spectators arranged themselves along the flight line observation areas, their casual conversations revealing unanimous expectations about the exercise outcome. Morrison's reputation as an exceptional pilot, combined with Garrison's command authority, created overwhelming consensus about Chin's impending defeat. "Look at that antique sitting next to those real fighters," one maintenance supervisor commented while pointing toward Chin's aircraft. "This should be over in about 5 minutes once they get airborne." Morrison completed her pre-flight inspection with obvious satisfaction, then approached Garrison to coordinate their tactical approach. Their conversation was conducted loudly enough for nearby personnel to overhear, clearly intended to reinforce the predetermined nature of the morning's outcome. "We'll use standard intercept formations," Morrison announced. "I'll take lead position while you coordinate from secondary attack angle. Should provide adequate demonstration without creating safety concerns." Garrison nodded his approval while reviewing their planned approach vectors. The tactical discussion revealed sophisticated coordination designed to overwhelm an opponent they believed lacked both equipment and skill necessary for effective resistance. Meanwhile, Chen methodically completed her inspection routine with calm precision that seemed almost unnaturally composed given the circumstances she was facing. Her movements betrayed no nervousness or apprehension about confronting two accomplished pilots in what everyone assumed was hopelessly obsolete equipment. The crowd continued growing as launch time approached, with personnel positioning themselves for optimal viewing of what promised to be the most entertaining exercise in recent red flag history. Their anticipation was palpable as they discussed expected engagement duration and victory margins. Colonel Patricia Hayes arrived unexpectedly, her presence adding official weight to what had begun as informal squadron training. Her decision to personally observe the exercise suggested awareness that something significant was about to occur, though her expression revealed no insight into the morning's true nature. Chen noticed the colonel's arrival while completing her systems verification procedures. The presence of base command staff would complicate her mission parameters as demonstration of classified capabilities before unauthorized personnel could create security complications requiring careful management. The public address system announced final preparations for the exhibition exercise, with safety reminders and viewing instructions that emphasized the demonstration's educational value. The tone remained neutral, but underlying excitement was evident in ground control personnel who anticipated spectacular entertainment. Morrison climbed into her cockpit with theatrical confidence, her actions clearly performed for the assembled audience. Her pre-start procedures carried extra flourish, as though each movement was designed to emphasize the professional competence that would deliver decisive victory within minutes. Garrison followed similar patterns as he prepared his aircraft for what he clearly expected will be the most satisfying flight of his career. The opportunity to publicly demonstrate the performance standards that separated elite pilots from pretenders provided personal validation of his command authority. Chen's cockpit preparation revealed no external signs of the technological revolution hidden beneath her aircraft's worn exterior. Her startup procedures appeared routine and unremarkable, maintaining the illusion of standard equipment operation that had concealed revolutionary capabilities for weeks. Webb monitored the preparations with growing anxiety about potential consequences of what was about to unfold. His understanding of Chen's mission made him acutely aware that demonstration of her true capabilities would irrevocably change everyone's understanding of military aviation possibilities. Rodriguez completed his final inspection while the crowd's anticipation reached peak intensity. His knowledge of the aircraft's modifications made him possibly the only person present who understood the morning's true significance beyond simple entertainment value. The tower frequency came alive with coordination between flight control and the three aircraft preparing for what everyone expected would be brief but spectacular demonstration. Safety observers confirmed readiness from their monitoring positions, while spectators arranged themselves for optimal viewing. As engine startup began, Chun felt the familiar surge of advanced propulsion systems coming online. The sound was identical to standard F-16 operation, but the performance capabilities now available to her exceeded anything the assembled crowd could imagine possible from apparently obsolete equipment. Morrison's voice cut through radio static with confident authority as she coordinated final approach vectors with Garrison. Their tactical planning revealed sophisticated teamwork designed to overwhelm an opponent they believed posed no meaningful challenge to their combined expertise. Phoenix, this is your final opportunity to request different exercise parameters, Morrison transmitted on the common frequency. We want to ensure you're comfortable with the instructional format we've arranged. Chen's response carried calm professionalism that seemed almost eerily composed given the overwhelming odds she faced. The crowd interpreted her composure as either admirable courage or dangerous overconfidence that would make her defeat even more spectacular. I appreciate your concern, Viper, Chen replied using Morrison's call sign. The current parameters will provide excellent demonstration opportunities for everyone involved. The exchange was monitored by ground control and transmitted to observation areas, where spectators prepared to witness what they unanimously expected would be swift and decisive conclusion to weeks of speculation about Chen's actual capabilities versus her apparent limitations. As the three aircraft prepared for takeoff, nobody present except Rodriguez and Webb understood they were about to witness the most significant demonstration of military aviation technology in red flag exercise history. The three fighters lifted off in sequence, their departure witnessed by the largest crowd to gather for a red flag training exercise in recent memory. Morrison and Garrison climbed aggressively, their aircraft gleaming in the morning sun as they established the coordinated attack formation that would deliver swift victory over their overmatched opponent. Chen's takeoff appeared sluggish by comparison, her vintage F-16 struggling to match the climb rate of the newer fighters ahead of her. The performance difference was so pronounced that spectators began discussing whether the exercise would provide any meaningful demonstration beyond simple equipment limitations. Ground control monitored the three aircraft as they approached the designated exercise area, their radar displays showing Morrison and Garrison achieving optimal positioning, while Chun lagged behind in what appeared to be a desperate attempt to avoid immediate engagement. Phoenix were entering the exercise area. Morrison transmitted with confident authority. "Are you ready to begin your instruction in advanced air combat techniques?" Chen's response carried the same unnaturally calm tone that had characterized her communications throughout her time at Nellis. Her composure seemed almost inappropriate given the overwhelming tactical disadvantage she faced against two accomplished pilots in superior aircraft. "Ready when you are, Viper," Chen replied. "I'm looking forward to this educational opportunity." Morrison exchanged satisfied glances with Garrison through their canopy visual contact. Chen's apparent resignation to her fate made the exercise outcome even more predictable, ensuring that their demonstration would achieve maximum impact on watching personnel. The engagement began with Morrison and Garrison executing a classic pincer movement designed to overwhelm Chen's defensive capabilities through coordinated attacks from multiple vectors. Their tactical coordination was flawless, representing textbook application of air combat doctrine against inferior opposition. Chen's initial response appeared purely defensive, her aircraft maneuvering desperately to avoid the incoming threats while making no attempt to establish offensive positioning. Her flight pattern suggested a pilot completely overwhelmed by the tactical situation and reduced to basic survival instincts. Ground control tracked the engagement through radar displays that showed Chen's aircraft being systematically cornered by her opponent's superior coordination. The exercise was proceeding exactly as everyone had predicted, with only the duration remaining in question. Then something extraordinary happened that changed everything about the tactical situation. Chen's aircraft suddenly accelerated beyond anything the F-16 was supposed to be capable of achieving, closing distance with Morrison's fighter in seconds rather than minutes. The transformation was so dramatic that ground control operators questioned their radar displays, wondering if equipment malfunction was creating impossible readings. Chen's supposedly obsolete fighter was demonstrating performance characteristics that exceeded published specifications for any operational aircraft. Morrison's confident communications turned to confusion as her tactical situation reversed with stunning speed. The opponent she had been systematically cornering was suddenly behind her, achieving firing position through maneuvers that seemed to defy aerodynamic principles. "What the hell?" Morrison transmitted as her aircraft's warning systems activated. "How did she get there so fast?" Chen's voice remained calm as she announced her simulated weapons lock on Morrison's aircraft. The tone carried professional satisfaction rather than surprise, suggesting she had expected exactly this sequence of events from the beginning of the engagement. "Viper, you're eliminated," Chen declared. "Please exit the exercise area as briefed." Garrison watched his wingman's defeat with growing alarm as he realized their tactical assessment had been catastrophically wrong. The pilot they had dismissed as incompetent was demonstrating capabilities that challenged everything he understood about air combat and aircraft performance. His attempt to rescue the situation through aggressive maneuvering only accelerated his own defeat. Chen's aircraft moved through the sky with impossible agility, avoiding his attacks while positioning for counterstrikes that utilized technology he had never encountered. The spectators on the ground watched in stunned silence as their expectations crumbled before their eyes. The exercise they had anticipated lasting minutes was indeed concluding quickly, but the outcome was precisely opposite to everything they had predicted. Chen's aircraft dominated the airspace with authority that seemed almost supernatural compared to its previous performances. The worn exterior that had suggested obsolescence now appeared to be sophisticated camouflage, hiding revolutionary capabilities. Ground control confirmed radar readings that showed Chen's fighter outperforming both opponents simultaneously while maintaining situational awareness that seemed impossible without advanced technological assistance. Her aircraft was functioning as though equipped with systems decades ahead of current operational standards. Garrison's elimination followed within minutes of Morrison's defeat, his aircraft succumbing to tactical maneuvers that he could neither counter nor comprehend. The coordination required for such precise combat control suggested pilot training and equipment capabilities far beyond anything he had encountered. "Phoenix, this is ground control." The tower transmission carried undertones of amazement. "Exercise complete. All aircraft returned to base immediately for debrief." The radio frequency fell silent as the three fighters began their return to Nellis. The tactical situation completely reversed from everyone's expectations. Chen's aircraft led the formation with authority that would have seemed impossible minutes earlier, while Morrison and Garrison trailed behind in obvious confusion. Colonel Hayes observed the landing sequence with intense interest, her command experience recognizing that she had witnessed something with implications far beyond simple training exercises. The performance demonstration demanded immediate investigation and classification review. Spectators dispersed in animated discussion about what they had observed, their conversations revealing unanimous bewilderment about how their predictions had proven so completely wrong. The pilot they had dismissed as incompetent had just delivered the most spectacular air combat demonstration in Red Flag history. Webb felt vindication mixed with awe as he watched Chen taxi her aircraft toward the maintenance area. His instincts about her capabilities had been confirmed in the most dramatic way possible, but the demonstration raised questions about technology and pilot training that exceeded his clearance level. Rodriguez prepared to receive Chen's aircraft with professional satisfaction. The morning's exercise had proven every system performed exactly as designed, validating months of development work and careful preparation for this moment of public demonstration. As Chen shut down her engines, the assembled crowd remained in stunned silence. The worn fighter that had been dismissed as scrap metal had just outperformed the squadron's best pilots and aircraft everyone had assumed were superior in every measurable category. The truth about Chen's mission and capabilities could no longer be concealed. What had begun as systematic humiliation had concluded with revelation that would change everyone's understanding of military aviation possibilities and force complete reevaluation of assumptions about aircraft capabilities and pilot assessment. The air traffic control tower erupted in controlled chaos as flight controllers struggled to process radar data that defied everything they understood about F-16 performance capabilities. Senior Controller Marcus Thompson stared at his displays with growing disbelief, running diagnostics to verify that equipment malfunction wasn't creating impossible readings. Captain Chen's aircraft had demonstrated speed and maneuverability that exceeded published specifications by margins so significant that the data suggested either miraculous engineering breakthrough or fundamental errors in their understanding of aerodynamic principles. Thompson's 20-year career monitoring military aircraft had never prepared him for readings that showed a vintage F-16 outperforming modern fighters equipped with the latest avionics and propulsion systems. The radar tracks looked more like experimental test data than operational exercise recordings. Colonel Patricia Hayes climbed the tower stairs with urgent purpose, her command authority demanding immediate explanation for what she had witnessed from the observation deck. The exercise had begun as routine training demonstration and concluded with performance that raised questions about classified technology and security protocols. Controller Thompson, I need detailed analysis of this morning's exercise data, Hayes announced without preamble. Those radar readings appear inconsistent with known aircraft capabilities. Thompson highlighted the relevant tracks on his primary display, his professional composure barely concealing amazement at the information he was presenting. Ma'am, Captain Chen's aircraft demonstrated performance characteristics that exceed published F-16 specifications in every measurable category. The speed differential was the most dramatic anomaly. Chen's fighter had accelerated from defensive positioning to offensive advantage in time frames that suggested either revolutionary propulsion technology or fundamental miscalculation of her aircraft's actual capabilities. Hayes studied the radar data with growing realization that she was examining evidence of something far more significant than training exercises. The performance demonstration had revealed technology with implications for national security and military aviation development. Meanwhile, Morrison and Garrison landed their aircraft in obvious confusion about what had occurred during the exercise. Their post-flight communications revealed pilots struggling to reconcile their tactical training with opposition capabilities that seemed to violate known principles of air combat. Morrison's debriefing was conducted in stunned monotone as she described maneuvers that her experience told her should have been impossible. Her confident predictions had been replaced by bewildered attempts to explain tactical defeat that challenged everything she understood about fighter aircraft performance. I established perfect positioning for the engagement, Morrison reported to ground control. Standard intercept formation with Hammer providing coordinated support. Then Phoenix achieved firing position through maneuvers that exceeded anything I've encountered in 15 years of flying. Garrison's experience was equally disorienting. His attempt to rescue the tactical situation had only accelerated his own elimination through countermeasures that demonstrated technology and pilot training far beyond conventional standards. The aircraft moved like nothing I've seen in operational service, Garrison transmitted during his approach. Phoenix demonstrated situational awareness and maneuvering capability that suggests either experimental systems or pilot training that exceeds current program standards. Hayes descended from the control tower with radar printouts that would require immediate classification review. The exercise data contained information about aircraft capabilities that potentially compromised operational security if not properly controlled. Chen taxied her aircraft toward the maintenance area, surrounded by ground personnel whose expressions revealed unanimous amazement at what they had witnessed. The fighter they had dismissed as obsolete equipment had just delivered the most spectacular demonstration in red flag exercise history. Rodriguez approached Chen's aircraft with professional satisfaction, mixed with relief that months of preparation had achieved their intended objectives. The morning's exercise had validated every system modification while demonstrating capabilities that would influence military aviation development for decades. Captain, all systems performed exactly as designed, Rodriguez announced as Chen completed her shutdown procedures. Every modification exceeded performance specifications during the engagement. Webb joined the growing crowd of personnel gathering around Chen's aircraft, his vindication about her capabilities overshadowed by awe at the technological demonstration he had witnessed. The pilot his squadron had systematically humiliated possessed abilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about combat aviation. The spectators who had gathered to witness Chen's expected defeat now found themselves witnesses to revelation that would become legend throughout the military aviation community. Their conversations revealed unanimous bewilderment about how their predictions had proven so catastrophically wrong. Hayes approached Chen's aircraft as she climbed down from the cockpit, her command authority demanding immediate explanation for performance that raised security concerns requiring urgent classification review. The exercise had exposed capabilities that potentially compromised operational protocols. Captain Chun, I need to speak with you immediately about this morning's exercise, Hayes announced with formal gravity. The performance characteristics your aircraft demonstrated require immediate discussion regarding classification and security protocols. Chun removed her helmet while evaluating the crowd of personnel surrounding her aircraft. The successful demonstration had achieved her mission objectives, but revelation of classified capabilities now required careful management to prevent security complications. Yes, ma'am, Chun replied with calm professionalism. I understand your concerns about the exercise data and am prepared to provide appropriate briefing on the systems demonstrated this morning. Morrison and Garrison approached the group with obvious confusion about their tactical defeat, their confidence replaced by professional curiosity about technology that had overwhelmed their combined expertise through means they could neither understand nor counter. Phoenix, Morrison said quietly, I need to understand what happened up there. Those maneuvers exceeded anything in current tactical doctrine. Chin studied Morrison's expression, recognizing genuine professional interest rather than wounded pride. The morning's demonstration had achieved its intended effect of forcing recognition that appearances could be devastatingly misleading in military aviation assessment. Viper, what you experienced this morning was advanced systems integration demonstrating next-generation fighter capabilities, Chen replied. The performance differential reflected technology rather than pilot training inadequacies. Garrison's tactical analysis had been fundamentally undermined by encounter with capabilities that challenge his understanding of air combat principles. His authority as squadron leader required acknowledgement that his assessment of Chun had been catastrophically wrong. Captain Chun, I owe you an apology for my evaluation of your capabilities, Garrison admitted publicly. This morning's exercise demonstrated pilot and aircraft performance that exceeded my assessment parameters. Hayes observed the interaction between squadron members while mentally preparing questions that would determine the classification level required for morning's exercise data. The demonstration had revealed information requiring immediate security review and possible mission parameter adjustment. Colonel Hayes, Chun said formally, I request private briefing opportunity to discuss the technical specifications demonstrated during this morning's exercise. The systems involved require appropriate classification review. Hayes nodded her understanding, recognizing that public discussion of advanced capabilities could compromise security protocols requiring careful management. The exercise had successfully demonstrated revolutionary technology, but revelation demanded immediate administrative action. As the crowd gradually dispersed, Webb remained near Chin's aircraft with Rodriguez, both men understanding they had witnessed the most significant military aviation demonstration of their careers. The morning had validated months of careful preparation while changing everything about red flag exercise protocols. Colonel Hayes led Chun into her private office. The radar printouts and exercise data spread across her desk like evidence in a classified investigation. The morning's demonstration had revealed capabilities that demanded immediate security review and potentially fundamental changes to red flag exercise protocols. Close the door, Captain, Hayes instructed while activating the office's secure communication systems. What we're about to discuss requires absolute privacy and classification control. Chin settled into the chair across from Hayes' desk, her calm professionalism unchanged despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal. Months of careful preparation had led to this moment when operational security would give way to necessary disclosure. Colonel, my assignment here involves testing advanced systems integration under realistic combat conditions, Chin began. The aircraft you observed this morning contains 3 years of development work representing next-generation fighter capabilities. Hayes studied the radar data while processing the implications of Chin's revelation. The performance characteristics documented during the exercise suggested technology with strategic importance far beyond routine training programs. Captain, Are you telling me that vintage F-16 contains experimental systems worth potentially millions in development costs? Hayes asked. Yes, ma'am, Chen confirmed. The aged exterior is deliberate camouflage designed to conceal revolutionary avionics, propulsion modifications, and integration systems that will influence military aviation development for decades. Hayes felt pieces of a complex puzzle clicking into place as she understood the true nature of Chen's mission at Nellis. The systematic humiliation she had endured served specific intelligence-gathering purposes while providing perfect cover for classified testing operations. The modifications include experimental radar systems that provide situational awareness beyond current operational standards, Chun continued. Enhanced propulsion technology delivers performance capabilities you witnessed this morning. Integrated avionics allow real-time combat analysis that conventional systems cannot match. Hayes realized the exercise data contained information requiring immediate classification at levels that would restrict access to personnel with appropriate security clearances. Chen's demonstration had exposed capabilities that could compromise national security if not properly controlled. Captain, what is your actual rank and assignment status? Hayes inquired. Chen reached into her flight suit and produced identification that had remained concealed throughout her time at Nellis. The credentials revealed rank and assignment details that completely transformed her relationship with the base command structure. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chun, assigned to Advanced Systems Testing Command under direct Pentagon authorization, Chen announced formally. My mission here involves evaluating next-generation technology integration against conventional fighters flown by skilled opposition. Hayes examined the identification with growing amazement at the deception that had been maintained for weeks under her command. The pilot her squadron had dismissed as incompetent actually outranked their leader while conducting classified operations of strategic importance. Colonel Chun, your demonstration this morning has created security concerns requiring immediate administrative action, Hayes said. The exercise data contains classified information that demands proper handling protocols. Chen nodded her understanding of the security implications involved. Her mission had always included provisions for revelation when circumstances required demonstration of true capabilities, but exposure created complications requiring careful management. Ma'am, my testing parameters included options for capability demonstration when tactical situations demanded revelation, Chen explained. This morning's exercise provided optimal conditions for evaluating system performance against skilled opponents under realistic combat stress. Hayes activated her secure communication system to contact Pentagon personnel responsible for oversight of advanced testing programs. The morning's demonstration had generated data requiring immediate classification review and possible mission parameter adjustment. Meanwhile, Garrison and Morrison waited in the squadron briefing room with obvious confusion about their tactical defeat and growing curiosity about Chen's actual capabilities. Their confidence had been replaced by professional recognition that their assessment had been fundamentally wrong. Webb and Rodriguez joined them as speculation mounted about the technology that had delivered such spectacular performance from apparently obsolete equipment. Their inside knowledge of Chen's mission made them observers of revelation they had anticipated for days. The briefing room door opened as Hayes returned with Chun, their expressions revealing the gravity of what had been discussed during their private meeting. The assembled squadron members sensed they were about to learn information that would change everything about their understanding of recent events. Gentlemen, Colonel Hayes announced formally, I have information about this morning's exercise that requires your immediate attention and absolute discretion. Chun stood beside Hayes with military bearing that seemed somehow more authoritative than her previous interactions with squadron personnel. Her demeanor had shifted from defensive acceptance to command presence that suggested revelation of her true status. Captain Chun is actually Lieutenant Colonel Chun, assigned to Advanced Systems Testing Command, Hayes announced. Her mission here involves evaluating experimental technology under operational conditions. Garrison felt his world shift as he processed the implications of what he was hearing. The pilot he had systematically humiliated not only possessed superior capabilities, but actually outranked him while conducting classified operations of strategic importance. Morrison's competitive instincts were replaced by professional embarrassment as she understood the magnitude of her misjudgment. The opponent she had dismissed as incompetent was actually testing technology that exceeded her understanding of military aviation possibilities. The aircraft you observed this morning represents next-generation fighter development that will influence military aviation for decades, Hayes continued. Colonel Chin's mission involved gathering intelligence on conventional fighter capabilities while testing advanced systems integration. Webb felt vindication mixed with awe as his suspicions were confirmed in the most dramatic way possible. His instinct about Chin's hidden capabilities had been completely validated, though the reality exceeded even his most optimistic projections. Rodriguez's technical understanding of the modifications now made perfect sense within the context of a classified development program. His cooperation with Chin's mission had contributed to testing that would advance military aviation technology by years or possibly decades. Colonel Chun, Garrison said formally, "I owe you a complete apology for my treatment during your assignment here. My assessment of your capabilities was not just wrong, but potentially harmful to your mission objectives." Morrison nodded her agreement, her professional integrity demanding acknowledgement of her fundamental misjudgment. The morning's exercise had demonstrated that her confidence had been based on incomplete information rather than actual superiority. Colonel Chun, Morrison said, "Your demonstration this morning exceeded anything in my experience. I would welcome any opportunity to understand the technology that delivered such spectacular performance." Chun evaluated the squadron members' reactions, recognizing genuine professional interest that could serve constructive purposes for future testing operations. Her mission had successfully achieved its intelligence-gathering objectives while demonstrating revolutionary capabilities. The systems you encountered represent 3 years of development, work integrating advanced technology into existing airframe designs, Chun explained. The performance differential reflected technological advancement rather than pilot training inadequacies. Hayes concluded the briefing with security reminders that emphasized the classified nature of what had been revealed. The morning's exercise had generated data requiring careful handling to prevent compromise of ongoing development programs. As the meeting concluded, every person present understood they had witnessed the most significant military aviation demonstration of their careers while learning that appearances could be devastatingly misleading in professional assessment situations. The administrative wheels of military justice moved swiftly once the full scope of the morning's revelation became clear. Colonel Hayes spent the afternoon in secure communications with Pentagon officials, coordinating response to what had evolved from routine training exercise into exposure of classified technology and serious breach of professional conduct. Major Garrison sat in his quarters reviewing the events that had led to his catastrophic misjudgment of Lieutenant Colonel Chin's mission and capabilities. His systematic humiliation of a superior officer conducting classified operations represented career-threatening failure of leadership and professional assessment. The official investigation began within hours as base security personnel reviewed all interactions between Chun and squadron members. The documentation revealed patterns of discrimination and unprofessional conduct that violated multiple regulations regarding treatment of classified operations and superior officers. Morrison faced similar scrutiny as investigators examined her role in escalating the confrontation that had forced Chun to reveal capabilities meant to remain concealed until testing completion. Her competitive instincts had contributed to compromising operational security of strategic importance. Webb and Rodriguez found themselves summoned to provide testimony about their knowledge of Chin's true mission and the circumstances that had led to the morning's dramatic demonstration. Their cooperation with classified testing operations placed them in protected status as valuable witnesses. Chun spent the afternoon briefing Pentagon officials through secure communication channels, explaining how the squadron's discrimination had actually enhanced her intelligence gathering while providing optimal conditions for testing advanced systems against skilled opposition. The first official consequence arrived before sunset when Garrison received notice of immediate removal from Squadron Command pending completion of the investigation. His failure to recognize classified operations occurring under his authority represented fundamental breakdown of command responsibility. Colonel Hayes delivered the news personally, her expression reflecting the gravity of administrative action being taken against someone whose career had been exemplary until this assignment. The professional consequences would extend far beyond simple reassignment. Major Garrison, effective immediately, you are relieved of Squadron Command, Hayes announced formally. Your conduct toward Lieutenant Colonel Chun violated regulations regarding classified operations and treatment of superior officers. Garrison accepted the decision with recognition that his actions had created consequences extending beyond personal career damage. His misjudgment had potentially compromised testing operations with implications for national security and military aviation development. Morrison received formal reprimand for unprofessional conduct and was reassigned to training duties pending review of her fitness for advanced combat operations. Her aggressive pursuit of confrontation with Chun had contributed to forcing revelation of classified capabilities. The squadron structure required immediate reorganization, with Chun assuming her appropriate position as senior officer present. Her actual rank and mission authority made her the logical choice to oversee continued testing operations now that operational security had been compromised. Webb received promotion to Chin's primary support officer, his moral courage and tactical intelligence making him valuable for ongoing advanced systems evaluation. His recognition of Chin's hidden capabilities had demonstrated judgment worthy of increased responsibility. Rodriguez was appointed lead maintenance officer for the classified aircraft program, his technical expertise and discretion making him essential for continued testing operations. His cooperation with Chin's mission had proven invaluable for successful system validation. Pentagon officials arrived at Nellis within 24 hours to assess the security implications of Chin's forced revelation and determine appropriate response to the compromise of classified testing operations. Their investigation would influence future protocols for advanced systems evaluation. Chun briefed the Pentagon team on intelligence gathered during her assignment, presenting comprehensive analysis of conventional fighter capabilities and pilot training standards that would influence next-generation aircraft development for years to come. The data collected during weeks of systematic observation provided unprecedented insight into how advanced systems performed against skilled opposition operating conventional equipment. The intelligence value justified the security compromise created by forced revelation. Meanwhile, word of the morning's demonstration spread throughout the military aviation community as personnel who had witnessed the exercise shared accounts of performance that challenged fundamental assumptions about aircraft capabilities and pilot assessment. The story became legend among fighter pilots as details of Chin's systematic deception and spectacular revelation circulated through professional networks. Her patient endurance of humiliation followed by devastating demonstration became a cautionary tale about the dangers of prejudicial assessment. Base Commander General Patricia Stone arrived to personally review the situation and ensure appropriate administrative action was taken regarding the security breach and professional conduct violations that had occurred under her overall command authority. Chin received formal commendation for successful completion of her testing mission under adverse conditions that had actually enhanced the value of intelligence gathered. Her ability to maintain operational security while enduring systematic discrimination demonstrated exceptional professionalism. The squadron received new standing orders emphasizing security protocols for identifying and properly supporting classified operations. The Chin incident would serve as a training example for decades regarding the importance of professional conduct and proper assessment procedures. Rodriguez continued his work with Chin's aircraft as testing operations transitioned to acknowledged status within the red flag exercise structure. His expertise with the advanced modifications made him indispensable for continued system evaluation and development. Webb began advanced training on next-generation systems as Chen's designated successor for certain testing protocols. His moral integrity and tactical understanding made him ideal for eventual leadership of similar operations. The professional consequences extended beyond individual careers to systemic changes in how advanced testing operations were conducted and protected. Chen's experience would influence protocols designed to prevent similar security compromises in future programs. As administrative action concluded, the true cost of the discrimination became clear through career damage to multiple personnel and compromise of testing operations that had required years of preparation. The lesson about prejudicial assessment would resonate throughout military aviation for generations. Chen's mission had succeeded beyond original parameters, providing comprehensive intelligence while demonstrating that revolutionary technology could be successfully concealed and tested under operational conditions. The forced revelation had actually enhanced rather than diminished the program's strategic value. 3 months after the demonstration that changed everything, Nellis Air Force Base had transformed into the premier center for advanced fighter technology integration. Lieutenant Colonel Chun stood in the same briefing room where she had once endured systematic humiliation, now addressing a new class of pilots selected for next-generation systems training. The worn F-16 that had been dismissed as scrap metal now occupied a place of honor in the main hangar, its modifications serving as the template for fleet modernization programs that would revolutionize military aviation. Every major aerospace contractor sought access to the technology that had delivered such spectacular performance. Chen's Advanced Systems Training Program had become the most sought-after assignment in military aviation, with pilots from around the world requesting transfer opportunities to work with technology that represented the future of air combat. The selection criteria emphasized character assessment alongside technical competence. Lieutenant Webb, now Captain Webb, served as Chen's primary instructor for tactical integration of advanced systems. His moral courage during the original incident had proven him worthy of trust with the most classified aspects of the program, and his teaching emphasized the importance of looking beyond appearances. Rodriguez had assembled a maintenance team that supported 12 aircraft modified with variations of Chen's original systems. His technical expertise had proven invaluable for scaling the modifications from single prototype to operational squadron, and manufacturers had competed for his consultation on production designs. The new pilots arriving for training received a comprehensive briefing that began with video footage of Chen's demonstration against Morrison and Garrison. The recording served as permanent reminder that assumptions about aircraft capabilities and pilot assessment could prove catastrophically wrong. Never judge an aircraft by its appearance. Chen instructed the latest class of trainees. The most worn exterior might conceal the most advanced technology, and the quietest pilot might possess the greatest capabilities. Your prejudices become your opponent's advantages. Former squadron members who had witnessed Chen's revelation frequently requested reassignment to work with her program. Their experience provided valuable perspective on how discrimination could compromise operational effectiveness while creating opportunities for opponents who understood the power of strategic deception. Morrison had completed remedial training in professional conduct and diversity awareness, eventually earning assignment to Chen's program as a junior instructor. Her exceptional flying skills, once properly directed, made her valuable for demonstrating conventional tactics that advanced systems could counter. The humility Morrison had gained through her spectacular defeat proved more valuable than her previous overconfidence. She often shared her experience with new trainees as an example of how competitive instincts needed to be balanced with professional respect and accurate assessment. Garrison had accepted early retirement after his removal from command. His career effectively ended by the misjudgment that had compromised classified operations. His experience served as a cautionary tale throughout the military about the consequences of discrimination and poor leadership. Chen's original mission data had influenced aircraft design for every major defense contractor, with her intelligence about conventional fighter limitations driving development priorities for the next decade. The systematic humiliation she had endured had actually enhanced the value of information gathered. The Pentagon had established new protocols for advanced testing operations based on lessons learned from Chen's assignment. Future programs would include better protection for classified operations while maintaining the realistic conditions necessary for accurate system evaluation. International allies sought access to training programs based on Chen's methods, recognizing that the integration of advanced technology with tactical thinking represented strategic advantages that could influence global military balance. The program had become a diplomatic asset. Base Commander General Stone frequently brought visiting officials to observe Chen's program as an example of how innovative thinking and advanced technology could transform military capabilities. The demonstration flights had become recruitment tools for attracting exceptional personnel. Chen's aircraft continued serving as a testbed for emerging technologies, its proven systems providing baseline capabilities for experimental modifications that pushed the boundaries of aerodynamic and electronic warfare possibilities. The worn fighter had become an icon of hidden potential. Webb often reflected on the moral choice he had made to support Chen despite social pressure to conform with squadron dynamics. His decision to trust his instincts rather than follow group prejudice had shaped his career and demonstrated the importance of individual courage in professional situations. Rodriguez took pride in maintaining aircraft that represented the cutting edge of military technology while preserving the humble appearance that had made Chen's deception possible. His workshop had become a pilgrimage site for maintenance professionals seeking to understand advanced systems integration. The story of Chen's patient endurance and spectacular revelation had spread throughout military culture as a legend about the power of strategic thinking and the dangers of underestimating opponents based on superficial assessment. Leadership courses used her experience as training material. New pilots learned that the greatest victories often came from allowing opponents to reveal their weaknesses while concealing true capabilities until the optimal moment for demonstration. Chen's tactical patience had become a model for strategic thinking in multiple contexts. As Chen concluded another briefing for incoming trainees, she looked out at faces that reflected proper respect for the lessons her experience had taught. The discrimination she had endured had ultimately served purposes far beyond her original mission parameters. The base announcement system crackled to life as ground control prepared for afternoon training flights featuring aircraft that incorporated modifications derived from Chen's original systems. The technology that had once been dismissed as scrap metal now represented the future of military aviation. Remember, Chen told her students as they prepared for their first flights in modified aircraft, appearances can be the most powerful weapons in your arsenal. Let your opponents underestimate you, and victory becomes inevitable. The new standard at Nellis emphasized character assessment alongside technical competence, ensuring that future personnel would recognize exceptional capabilities regardless of their presentation. Chen's legacy would influence military culture for generations through leaders who understood that the greatest strength often hid behind the most humble exterior.